Hello, welcome to the Y&Y YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all of the places you can find me should be linked in the description box just below this video. How are you today? Welcome to a Y&Y Extra. It is Friday today, Good Friday, so happy Easter everyone. How are you doing? Are you able to enjoy a nice long weekend or are you busy working? I hope it's the former, but if it is the latter, then I know I speak for many people, but certainly for myself, when I say I appreciate everything you are up to at the moment to help the rest of us stay safe and well. Thank you so much. I also want to say a big thank you to everyone who has been leaving comments on the vlogs and on the extra videos. It's been a real joy for me to have those interactions with you all during this time. I think I spoke a little bit yesterday about not being able to sleep properly and feeling a bit discombobulated, and I think I've kind of maybe figured out the nub of it. Not only obviously am I worrying about just the situation in general and how we're going to manage things just financially and mentally if we continue to have to stay in this sort of semi-state of lockdown that we're in at the moment. I think it's the dichotomy that I'm struggling with, because there are lots of people like myself who have found themselves with extra time on their hands and are able to perhaps enjoy the sunshine, enjoy some of their hobbies. But I know that there are folks out there, probably some of whom are watching, who are working really hard through this time, and it must be difficult to be on that side of the fence, both from the perspective of having to potentially put yourself in danger every time you leave the house, but also from the perspective of the fact that, you know, there's tons of stuff on social media of people talking about the extra free time they have, and yeah, that must be really hard if you're out there working. So yeah, I just wanted to say I see you and thank you, really, I guess. And I'm kind of struggling with the fact that I'm on the sort of first half of that fence and not really being able to sort of contribute in any sort of tangible way. So yeah. Anyway, that was a bit of a heavy way to to start the video. Hopefully it's a much more fun video than I implied. Yeah, I just meant to say happy Easter, and I hope you are finding some way to enjoy the Easter weekend. I hope you're able to be in touch with your family in a safe way. Whatever method you're using for communication, I hope you're able to stay in touch with your nearest and dearest. We're doing our level best to stay in this weekend. It's a really glorious day out there today, and I think the weather is set to continue for the weekend here in the UK, and it's really quite unusual for us to have a bank holiday weekend with glorious weather. But of course the temptation to go out must be ignored, and yeah, James and I are doing our very best to do nothing other than visiting our garden this weekend. So I might head out for a walk perhaps after it gets dark and the number of people out and about may be reduced, because I need to stretch my legs, definitely. Anyway, I'm here to tell you about a cheeky new cast on today. So I'm doing a bit of messing around with my scraps and my stash, and I'm entirely blaming this on my lovely friend Fiona Fee of Flourish Fibres. I was lucky enough to do a video chat with her at the beginning of the week, and she showed me a couple of lovely projects that she was working on, including the Something Simple sweater, which is a pattern by Anchor Strict. And basically it's an excuse to raid your scraps and stash and leftovers and have some fun and hopefully make a beautiful jumper in the process. It's the hottest part of the day at the moment, so I'm trying to stay indoors and not sit out in the sun. So I thought it'd be a good excuse to come and play with yarn. And that is what I'm doing. So I had a big sort out of my bits and pieces and my leftovers with the view to casting on this pattern, and the sample picture on the project page over on Ravelry, designers used a sort of grey base and then added colour to that, and I really like that idea. So without having purchased the pattern, I raided my stash and I picked out a few things that might work. And I'll show you what I've done in a moment, but I'm going to have to jiggle things around because I've actually purchased the pattern now, and the ratios of the yarn that you use are slightly different than what I thought. I'm not going to give the details of that because obviously it's a paid for pattern, but I can say to you, I think that my initial thought was the sort of main colour, your background colour, would make up half of the quantity of yarn you need, and then your minis and leftovers and extras would be the other half. But it's not quite as clear cut as that. I guess you could really do anything you want. Because the sample is so beautiful, I want to try and stick to that sort of ratio to get a similar kind of effect for mine. The floor on my craft room is a complete mess at the moment, but it's a good mess. Look at all of this fabulous colour. So yeah, this is what I pulled out of my stash, and as I say, the pattern in the sort of sample had a grey base, so I pulled out a few leftovers, just some sock yarn, drops sock yarn, and then I also had these two in my stash. These were actually in my box. I've got a box of stuff that I want to de-stash, and both of these were actually in my de-stash box, but I am reclaiming them to use in this project. So I've got a skein of fondant fibre and a skein from the Makery in York, which sadly the shop is no longer, but I think the lady is still dying. So this is a grey with some sort of like tweedy almost flecks of really dark charcoal grey, and this is grey erring on the side of blue. So they were what I initially picked out for my main sort of background colour, and then I just raided my scraps and minis and leftovers. And this is going to be a really fun project. It's almost going to be like a memory sweater, I think, because there are some beautiful skeins in here. I've got minis in here that were recently gifted to me. So thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Angela. If you spot minis in here that you know you gifted me, thank you so much. I've got a pack of minis up here that my lovely friend Lou sent to me to go in my crochet blanket, but I think I'm going to snaffle them for this sweater. I've got my leftovers from the mini set that I purchased from Caroline, Rainbows But Darker, in here, and all sorts. There's a mini skein that was in the goodie bag from the first Knit Tea retreat. I've got a lot of lovely minis that I picked up from the little mini swap that we did on our weekend away. I've got some minis from Miranda by Miranda May, and I've also got this precious mini of Mustache Yarns, which is the Martian Rainbow colour that my friend Courtney sent me eons ago, and I've been saving it for something special, and I think it's going to go into this sweater with any luck, so I'll figure it out as I go along. The first thing I need to do is adjust what I'm going to be using for my background colour. So this on the floor represents roughly overall the amount of yarn that I'm going to use. I think it's slightly more than the pattern recommends. I'm going to be knitting a 58-inch chest. The garment is designed for 4+ inches of positive ease, so a 56 will give me 4, so I'm going to go for that. But I needed to add a couple more bits to go into my sort of background colour here. So I think I've spotted a couple of skeins in here that I can easily switch over. So I'm thinking the mini from Down Sheepy Lane. I've got this leftover from Life in the Long Grass, and I have got this mini skein, which I think might have come in the batch that Angela recently sent me. And I reckon if I transfer those over to this side, that should give me the extra that I need to work with the ratios that were sort of stated in the pattern. So yeah, I reckon I can merge those into sort of my main colour, my background, nicely, and then that still leaves me with all of these lovely colours to play with. The next thing I need to do is lay all these out and mess around to find out whether I can get some sort of gradation from light to dark, because the pattern recommends you do that, and there's some ways in which the pattern suggests you can mess around with that, but again, I'm not going to give too much away on this video because it is a paid for pattern, so I'm just going to have a little play with my colours. Okay, so I think I've got my colours all sorted and ready to go. I've got my sort of main base colour under here. These are going to be my contrast colours, and then over this side I've got a few bright pops of colour to add in throughout. So yeah, I think I'm ready to bag these up and hopefully get started with my cast on. I've wound up everything from the light section, which I will be starting with. I've got plenty more on the floor behind me to wind up, but this should be enough to actually get cast on with the project. So I think I'm going to call it a day for the winding and grab my needles and go and sit in the garden and cast on. Things can be quite noisy out there. I've made it out to the garden and I'm ready to cast on. It's super sunny, so sorry, sunglasses again. I don't know if you can see beside me there, our bluebells have popped out since I last showed them off. I think coming up for a week ago, I think it was Sunday when I did my just to sit in the garden with no chat. I showed the bluebells budding, but they've really popped out again. I've got everything ready to go for my cast on. I'm going to be keeping this project in this gorgeous bag sent to me by Christine. Hi Christine, thank you so much. This is going to be brilliant. I've only got a few skeins in there at the moment, but this, once I've wound up everything else, will definitely hold everything that I need for this sweater. I just need to grab my needles. I thought I'd show you how I store my needles. God, my hair is crazy today. I've got this needle roll from Rowan. They brought these out quite recently, just before Christmas I think, and they're not cheap, but I thought I'd buy one as sort of a little sample and see if any of my customers fancied doing a pre-order. I didn't want to spend the money bringing them in and then no one go for it, but a couple of them did, so and I knew I could use this for my needles, and actually it's really handy. So it unfolds, and then inside are lots of pockets that are already pre-numbered with both US sizes and UK sizes. And there's a couple of zip pockets which I keep like the needle connectors and bits and pieces in, and I've also got the lovely needle gauge that I purchased from Caroline, who is a Colourful Creativity. I've got that hanging off the zipper. The only frustration is there's no pre-marked size for a 3mm. It goes 275, 325, and 275 is the lowest as well, but there are a few spare unlabelled pockets both down the bottom and at the top, so I am making use of those for the extra sizes that aren't labelled. At some point I might get a fabric pen and actually write the sizes on the pockets, but for now I'm okay at remembering what they are. I keep all of my circular needles in here, both fixed and interchangeables. So I need to have a dig around and find the sizes I need to get cast on. I've cast on using my Life in the Long Grass yarn, which was left over from my Stephen West Speckle Pop mystery shawl that I made, and I'm holding it together with this lovely minty green mini which I picked up from the swap table at our weekend getaway. I haven't got a small circumference circular in the right size, so I'm just going to magic loop the rib. It's looking quite fun so far. I don't know if it might be too bright to show that, but I've got a lovely stitch marker I'm going to pop in to mark the beginning of my round, and then I'm all set to work the beginning rib. That's it. Cheeky new cast on accomplished, and I'll pop a little clip in of where I get to in a little while. I had hoped to finish this video yesterday. I know it won't make any difference to you because you will hopefully be seeing it seamlessly, but I didn't quite get round to recording a conclusion to the video, so I'm just going to quickly show you what I managed to get done yesterday evening for my Simple Something sweater. And I've almost finished the rib at the start of the sweater. It's knit top down, and I've got probably 2 or 3 rows left to do for the neckband ribbing, so I'm going to swap in a new colour and keep going. So yeah, I'm really excited for this project to see how it's going to turn out. I need to spend a little bit more time today, I think, winding up the next lot of yarns. So I wound up all of the colours that were sort of grouped together in my lights section, so I'm going to go for the medium tone yarns today, get those all wound up and bagged up, just go from there. So I hope you have enjoyed following along this naughty little cast on adventure with me. It's not really naughty. I've finished a few things over the last couple of weeks, so my whip count might not be reducing, but it's not really growing either, so you know. I don't need excuses. It's knitting, it makes me happy. So yeah, have you cast on anything recently? Let me know. The question I should have asked on the previous video is have you found any random things in your project bags recently? So also let me know that below this video. And until we get to spend time together again, I hope that you get to do some of the things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now.